Hey guys, Victoria Baxton here. Thanks for stopping back by my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the Columbine Massacre. Okay guys, unless you live under a rock somewhere, I'm sure everybody knows about the Columbine Massacre. Let me start by saying, can you see it? Go Chiefs! Yay! Going to the Super Bowl. Sorry, I have to represent my Chiefs. Sorry. Okay. So, on April 20th, the school shooting and attempted bombing occurred at Columbine High School in Columbine, Colorado. For some reason, I don't think they were in Columbine, Colorado. Am I wrong about that? I'm not sure. The perpetrators were 12th grade students Eric David Harris and Dylan Bennett Klebold. They murdered 12 students and one teacher. 10 students alone were killed in the school library. And that's where Harris and Klebold committed, 21 additional people were injured by gunshots, and gunfire was also exchanged with the police. Another 3 people were hurt trying to escape. Okay, so at the time, it was the deadliest school shooting in U.S. history until the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting happened in 2018, unfortunately. And unfortunately, the shooting has inspired dozens of copycat killings dubbed the Columbine effect, including many deadlier shootings across the world. Harris and Klebold had intended for the attack to primarily be a bombing and secondarily a shooting, but the failed detonation of several of the homemade bombs they planted in the school caused the pair to launch a shooting attack. I did not know that until I did the research. 2 bombs were set up as a diversion at another location away from school. One of those partially detonated. The motive remains inconclusive. However, we know they had planned this for over a year, and they had hoped to kill as many people as possible. Okay, so the police were slow to enter the school building, and they were criticized because they didn't intervene quickly enough. The incident resulted in the introduction of the IARD tactic, which is used in active shooter situations. Columbine also resulted in an increased emphasis on school security with zero tolerance policies. Debates and moral panic were sparked over American gun culture and gun control laws, high school cliques, subcultures, outcasts, and bullying, as well as teenage use of pharmaceutical antidepressants, the internet, and violence in video games and movies. All right, I'm going to keep the information about the murderers to a minimum. Eric David Harris was born April 9, 1981 in Wichita, Kansas. Dylan Bennett Klebold was born September 11, 1981 in Lakewood, Colorado. All right, on April 21st, bomb squads combed the high school. By 8:30 a.m., the official death toll of 15 was released. So that was 12 students, the one teacher, and the 2 murderers. 20 students and one teacher were injured. At 10 o'clock a.m., the bomb squad declared the building safe for officials to enter. By 11:30 a.m., a spokesperson for the sheriff's department declared the investigation was underway. 13 of the bodies were still inside the high school as the investigative photographers entered the building. That's so sad. On April 22nd, the cafeteria bombs were discovered. All right, let's go over who's important here, and those are the victims. Rachel Scott was 17 years old. She was the first one killed. Daniel Roba, I hope I said that right, was 15 years old. Dave Sanders was a teacher and 47 years old, and he was credited for getting a lot of students to safety, so he's a hero. Kyle Velasquez, was 16 years old. Stephen Kernall was the youngest. He was 14 years old. Cassie Bernal was 17 years old. Isaiah Scholes was 18 years old. Matthew Ketcher was 16 years old. Lauren Townsend was 18 years old. John Tomlin was 17 years old. Kelly Fleming was 16 years old. And Corey DePuter was 17 years old. And Daniel Mauser was 15 years old. Okay, so I was able, unfortunately, to connect with Eric Harris. The reason I say unfortunately, it was horrible. Hold on. Time out. Let me start this by saying, generally, when I do a case, I connect with the people involved first, and then I do the research. With Columbine, I already knew about it, so I went ahead and did the research aspect of it first, and I did not know that Dylan and Eric wanted this to primarily be like a bombing. The shooting was secondary, okay? I didn't know that. On April 20th of 1999, I was sitting at Washington Dulles Airport. I was about to fly to St. Petersburg, Florida with my best friend. We went out there, rented a sports car, and spent a week. And it was all over the TVs there at the airport, and yeah. So anyway, I connected with Eric. He was the biggest piece of shit that ever walked, okay? He started off by saying, oh, you know, you want to come talk to me because I was so successful. Dylan and I were so successful. He was just gross. He was talking about some of the children and things that they had said and done, you know, crying for their parents. And I mean, just horrible things he was saying. He was boasting. He was so proud of himself. And he was just such an asshole that I could only take so much, okay? And so I had to intervene, and I shouldn't have, but I intervened and said, oh, let me tell you how successful you weren't, okay? How about that? The majority of your little homemade bombs didn't even detonate, okay? So you're a loser. You weren't successful. You're a loser. And after him cussing and yelling at me for a while, I just cut it off. I was done with the connection. He's a piece of shit. And so I almost didn't try to connect with Dylan. I'm not sure why, but something told me to go ahead and try to connect with him, that I should connect with him. And let me tell you guys, it was night and day, okay? He came through. He just seemed very peaceful. He smiled. He acknowledged me. He was very nice, you know, came across very sincere. And I started off by saying that I had connected with Eric and that he's just a horrible, you know. And Dylan, he said, oh my God. He said, I feel terrible for what we did. He's like, I've, you know, asked for forgiveness from the people that I killed. He went on to say, I said, do you see Eric regularly? And he's like, no. So let me explain. You know, I always say how you are in life is how you are in death, right? That was definitely Eric. So I said to Dylan, I said, I don't understand like how you're in such a great place. Like, can you explain it to me? So he proceeded to tell me that right before he went to kill himself, he prayed and he said, if there is a God, if you're real, please forgive me. And he said, I meant it with my entire being. And that shows you, I mean, he's in a good place now. He said, I will spend the rest of my life trying to make up for the people that I wronged and the lives that I affected. He went on to say that, you know, when it started off, okay, this was interesting. He said when it started off, you know, Eric was like, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And he said, you know, he got caught up in, you know, feeling important and, you know, caught up in the fact that, you know, he finally felt like he was being accepted, right, into like something important. And he said, so that's how it was at first. And he said, as time went on, as they were building bombs, as they were out practicing, you know, with their guns and figuring out what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, he said, I got wrapped up in it. And for a little while, I believed in what we were going to do. And he said, that's something that, you know, I'll always have to work on. He talked about, you know, as he was shooting people, the adrenaline rush, and he said it was like he was on a high. So I guess his friend Eric unalived himself first, and he said all of a sudden it was like reality swept up onto him, and he crept up, and he was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna spend the rest of my life in prison and I'm screwed and I don't know what to do. And he said, I don't know what it was. I felt like something came over me and I started praying. And he said, as soon as I started praying, I felt peace. And he said, and I unalived myself. And, you know, he said, hindsight's 20/20. He wished he would have been a real man and stood up for what he did and paid for his consequences. But he said, you know, it was something that he had to deal with and he had to learn from and grow from. And he said that he has been forgiven by the victims that are there with him. He has been forgiven, you know, they have forgiven him. He said, I'm sure there are thousands upon millions of people that haven't forgiven me, that are still down there. He's like, because, you know, we cause so much chaos and destruction. And he said, and that's something that I have to deal with, you know. And he said, and I feel horrible. He's like, you know, it's not something that you can just put in the back of your mind and never think about. He's like, it's always front and center. So I will say he is fortunate to be where he is. He's very fortunate to be where he is. But yeah, it was like night and day, you guys. And Eric, he's just such a piece of shit. I mean, just unreal, you guys. But I know this is short, but I wanted to do this. I was asked by a couple people, so I wanted to go ahead and get this done. I am working on the Beaumont children. That will be coming out soon. So be nice, be kind, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs. Hopefully they'll win the Super Bowl. All right, guys. I hope you guys are doing great. And that about does it for me. Bye, guys.